How to open trading account in Maya? Step 1. Login into Maya app. Step 2. Top stocks. Step 3. Top Full Stacks Financial Inc. Step 4. Register for an account. Step 5. Invest now with the app. Happy trading!
The Philippine Stock Exchange is the only equities exchange in the country. It is one of the oldest stock exchanges in Asia, tracing its roots from the establishment of the Manila Stock Exchange in 1927 and the Makati Stock Exchange in 1963. The two exchanges were unified in 1992 to form the PSE we know today. The PSE is a venue for companies to raise capital for business expansion. More than 280 companies are currently listed on the stock exchange. The PSE also serves as the marketplace for investors looking to invest in equities. Stock investments have the potential to grow over time through price appreciation and dividends. The PSE helps maintain a fair and transparent market through its continuing disclosure requirements for publicly listed companies. Meantime, its independent subsidiary, the Capital Markets Integrity Corporation, oversees and regulates trading participants. Investors who would like to invest in stocks will need to open an account with any of the PSE-accredited stock brokerage firms. Visit the PSE website at www.pse.com.ph or follow our official social media accounts to know more about raising capital and investing in the stock market.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the fourth webinar of the year entitled Monetary Policy and its Impact on the Stock Market. John Garcia po, Business Development Head and Market Education OIC ng Philippine Stock Exchange, your host and moderator for today's session. Ano bang monetary policy? Saka paano ba tayo naapektuhan nito? So yan ang mga malalaman natin this afternoon. In today's webinar, we invited a resource speaker from one of our accredited stockbrokers, PhilStocks Financial, to give us a deep dive into the monetary policy and how it affects the stock market. Samahan niyo po kami in the next hour at suriin natin ang statistical data on interest rates and how this correlates with the PSEI. Aalamin din natin kung paano ba tayo dapat mag-adjust tuwing may pagbabago sa monetary policy. So before we get started, here are a few reminders for our webinar attendees. This webinar is recorded. Only the speakers and their presentation will be visible throughout this session. Ensure that your internet connectivity is stable and refrain from opening multiple browsers or downloading any programs to avoid disruptions during this session. Your microphones are disabled. However, this should not affect your ability to listen to our speakers. Just remember to check the volume control of your device. We enjoin everyone to actively participate during the live Q&A segment. Yung mga participants in Zoom may type their questions in the Q&A box, while our Facebook live stream viewers may type their questions in the comment section anytime during the webinar session. This webinar is for educational and informational purposes only. This should not be construed as a professional, financial, or investment advice or recommendation from the PSE. Okay, so short survey muna tayo bago magsimula para mas lalo natin makilala ang mga manonood natin ngayong hapon. Practice na rin to sa pakikipag-interact ninyo sa amin. Alright? So yung mga Zoom participants, just click on your answer and click submit. Live stream viewers, just type your answer in the comment section. Our first poll survey question. How familiar are you with central banking? A, very familiar. B, somewhat familiar. Or C, not familiar. Okay. I'm closing the poll and sharing the results with everyone. Okay, so 67% of our attendees are somewhat familiar with the central banking, while 19% are not familiar, and 13% are very familiar. Sa Facebook attendees naman natin, ang sagot ay somewhat familiar and not familiar. Okay, next poll question. How familiar are you with monetary policies? Is it A, very familiar, B, somewhat familiar, or C, not familiar? Okay, if hindi tayo familiar sa mga concepts na to, not to worry because you are in the right place. Yan ang mga i-discuss natin at ng ating resource speaker sa webinar ngayong hapon at kung paano nito naapektuhan ang ating mga investments sa stock market. So let's close the poll and share the results with everyone. Looking at our Facebook live stream, no, ang sagot nila ay somewhat familiar and not familiar. Can we see the results for the second question in Zoom, poll question? Okay, 58% of our participants in Zoom said that they're somewhat familiar with monetary policies, while 26% are not familiar and 16% very familiar. Okay, let's move on to our third and last poll question for the day. So which investments do you prefer at this time? Is it interest-bearing securities, money market instruments, or stocks? Or we also have VULs, UITFs, and mutual funds. Okay, let's wait for our participants to key in their answers. I'm also keen to see yung mga responses ng ating live stream viewers. All right, so let's close the poll and share the results with everyone. Okay, 47% of our participants in Zoom are investing in stocks, followed by those investing in interest-bearing securities and UITFs, mutual funds, and insurance investments tied at 22%. And only 9% are invested in money market instruments. So for our live stream viewers, most of them, or if not all, in the comment section said they're investing or they prefer investing in stocks. Okay, so thank you very much for actively participating in our survey. And hopefully, mamaya sa ating webinar, mas active kayo mag-participate sa ating Q&A segment. So gusto natin engaging ang ating discussions this afternoon, okay? Ilan na nga ba ang nanonood? So as of this afternoon, we have over 200 live attendees combined in Zoom and Facebook Live. So thank you very much for choosing to invest your afternoon with us. So sana mas dumami pa yung ating mga attendees kasi napaka-interesting and educational ng ating topic for today. Okay, so without further ado, let's introduce our guest resource speaker this afternoon. He is the research manager of PhilStocks Financial, one of the online stockbrokers accredited by the PSE. Everyone, please help me welcome Mr. Japet Tanchanco. Hi, Japet. Good afternoon.
Hi, Sir John. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Well, of course, we're glad to have you with us again. This is the second time we're conducting a webinar with us for the year.
Yes,
So,
po.
yung unang webinar mo, talagang dami naming natutunan. And with that, sabi ko, we should invite Japet for another session. And here's an interesting topic this afternoon. We hope to learn a lot from you. If you're ready, I'll pass on the floor to you.
All right. So, ayun, again, thank you very much to Sir John, and thank you very much to the Philippine Stock Exchange for inviting me on this webinar. So, ang pag-uusapan nga natin this afternoon is the monetary policy and its impact on the stock market. Okay, so why did I choose this topic? I think this is one of the hot topics right now in the market. Nakita naman natin na in the past or recently, let's be honest, the market is not really moving that well. Value turnover is low. Not many are trading in the market right now. And one of the main suspected reasons as to why the local market is reacting this way is because of yung tinatawag nating monetary policies natin. Particularly what the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is doing. So siguro, I don't know, baka you've been reading the news or checking news sa TV, and you're always seeing na the BSP has tightened policy rates, the BSP has raised policy rates, the BSP is still in a hawkish stance. So what do all of these things mean? So yun yung pag-aaralan natin this afternoon. Okay? So without further ado, let me share my slides. So yan. So monetary policies and its impact on the stock market. So if you will have any concerns, so kindly catch my attention or catch our attention by just raising your hand. Okay? So monetary policies and its impact on the stock market. So syempre yung pinakauna natin kailangang alamin is yan. What is monetary policy? Ano nga ba itong sinasabi natin na monetary policy? So monetary policies are policies that use money supply and interest rates to stabilize the economy. So these are carried out by central banks. Okay? So from the meaning itself, himay-himay natin. Okay? So monetary policy, this is done to stabilize the economy. It uses money supply and interest rates. And finally, it is carried out by the central bank. Okay? So alalahanin natin yung tatlong yon. For the first part of this discussion, dun tayo magre-revolve. Ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng mga to? Okay, so we're going to discuss them further. So, of all of these three, ang pinakaunahin natin is how does money supply and interest rate affect the economy? Okay, so bago tayo pumunta dun sa money supply and interest rates being used to stabilize the economy, syempre, yung pinakauna natin kailangan malaman is paano ba sila nakaka-apekto sa ekonomiya natin. So, pag dumadami yung money supply in the economy, ano yung nangyayari? Pag tumataas yung interest rates, ano yung nangyayari? Diba? So, we have to look into these first. Okay? By having a good grasp of this concept, the rest will be easy to follow. Yan. So, for us to make it easier, tandaan nyo lang tong point na to. Okay? To make better sense, we need to be reminded of this principle that money, like other commodities, is subject to the laws of the market. So, ayan. So, ano po wala, disclaimer. So, this is going to be quite a theoretical topic. So, marami po tayong mga pagdadaan ng theories dito. But we'll try to simplify it as much as possible para maintindihan natin lahat. Okay? So, ayun. So, pinakauna natin kailangang malaman when we are dealing with monetary policies or when we are studying monetary policies is yun nga, to keep in mind that money is just like any other good. Okay? So, money's, I mean, if you're going to go down to the bottom line, money is just a good. Okay? It's a good, and like any other good, it's being traded. Okay? The only difference, or what makes money special, yun, what makes money special as a good? Money in itself has no use. Hindi mo naman siya pwedeng kainin. Hindi mo naman siya pwedeng, hindi mo naman siya pwedeng ipanlaba. Hindi mo naman siya pwedeng gamiting sabon. But why is it that people always want money? Why is it that people always want money? Bakit natin lagi gusto ng pera? We always want money because this is the good that everybody deems acceptable for exchange. Diba? Kumbaga, ito yung good na napagkasunduan ng lahat ng tao na pwedeng pamalit. Okay? So when I have money, I can easily trade it for other goods. So imagine a world na wala tayong pera, so we're living in a barter system. Ang hirap naman nun, 'di ba? If I want something, let's say gusto ko ng chicken, pero wala naman akong pera, all I have is, a bunch of bananas. Parang paano ko siya i-trade for that chicken? Ang hirap naman, 'di ba? That's why money was created as a medium of exchange. And this is a good which everybody accepts as exchangeable. Okay? So yun yung importance ng money as a good. But yun nga, just like any other good, money is subjected to the laws of the market. So ano ba itong tinatawag natin na laws of the market? So if you've been through your basic economics, most likely kilala niyo na po ito. Ito yung pinaka-fundamental law of economics, which is the law of supply and demand. Okay? Now, para doon sa mga hindi pa na-encounter to, no worries. Well, simple lang to. In fact, this is something that you encounter every time you go to the market. Okay? Hindi nyo man siya na-encounter graphically, pero gamit na gamit nyo to as you go into the market, whether to buy or to sell products. Okay? So, himay-himay natin yung graph. So, you have here a y-axis, which is for the price, and you have here an x-axis, which is for the quantity. Okay? So, ito yung price ng good, nasa y-axis or yung nakatayong axis. And then yung nakahiga naman, which is the x-axis, yan is yung dami ng goods in the market. Okay? So you have price and you have quantity. Now you have quantity demanded, which is downward sloping. Okay? Downward sloping siya, which tells us that there is a negative relationship between quantity demanded and price. So, sounds fancy, but if you're going to simplify it, ang ibig sabihin lang naman nun is pag mataas ang presyo ng isang bilihin, ayaw natin siyang masyadong bilhin. Kasi nga mataas yung presyo so mahal. Whereas kapag mababa ang presyo ng isang bilihin, gustong-gusto natin siyang binibili. Bakit? Mababa yung presyo, mura. So, di ba, makaka-bargain tayo. So, that's law of demand, as simple as that. Now, law of supply naman, law of supply is different. For the law of supply, when prices are, so yun, so sa quantity demanded pala, that is for the buyer's side. Yung quantity supplied naman, that is for the seller's side. Now, for the sellers, kapag mababa ang presyo ng isang produkto, hindi nila masyado ibebenta yun. Bakit? Siyempre, kung ako producer ako, tapos mababa lang yung price ng product, konti lang kikitain ko dyan. So, I'll be hesitant to sell my product. Now, kapag mataas yung presyo ng isang produkto, gustong-gusto siyang binebenta ng mga producers. Bakit? Mataas yung presyo. So, if the price is high, then the producer or the seller will be able to get a lot from that product. Okay? So, yun yung law of demand and then yung law of supply. Of course, these two will have to meet. Kailangan nilang magtagpo. They have to agree on a certain price and on a certain quantity. At yun yung cross. Yung the point wherein demand and supply cross, ito yung tinatawag natin na market. Kung saan napagkakasunduan natin yung price at yung price of the product as well as how much of that product will be traded. Okay? So ito yung in economics, ito yung tinatawag natin na equilibrium. Okay? So that's law of demand and law of supply. Again, at demand, mataas presyo ng bilihin, walang masyadong bibili. When price is high, not much would want to buy it. When price is low, many would like to buy it. On the law of supply naman, if price is low, not much would want to sell it. But if price is high, many would want to sell. And then when the two meet, demand and supply, that's when you get the market. Now that we got that out of the way, let's now proceed to money. So this is the market for money. Pero may mapapansin kayong kakaiba. Ano yung difference? Ang mapapansin yung kakaiba dito is, yes, the demand is still the same as before, downward sloping pa rin siya, but yung supply natin is patayo lang. So bakit ganon? We will dive into that further later. Okay? But for now, analyze natin yung graph. Okay? So as I mentioned, money is just like any other good. Now, if money is just like any other good, may presyo yan. Ano yung presyo ng money? The price of money is what you call the interest rate. Okay? So, tapos, syempre, nasa x-axis natin, yung quantity pa rin. Alright? So, ngayon punta tayo sa demand for money. So, the demand for money follows the normal law of demand. Okay? Pag mataas ang interest rate, walang masyadong may gusto ng pera. Whereas kapag mababa ang interest rate, marami yung may gustong humawak ng pera. Now, why is it so? Ano yung explanation behind that? Yung demand kasi dito, what it really pertains to is yung tinatawag nating liquidity preference. How liquid do you prefer to be? Or how much money do you prefer to hold? Yun lang yung sinasabi ng demand for money dito. Now, kapag mataas ang interest rate, would you want to hold all of your money? Or would you want to deposit all of those money in the bank para kikita sila ng interest? Di ba you would choose the latter? Kasi mataas yung interest eh. Mataas yung interest, you don't want to let go of that opportunity. So ang gagawin mo ngayon, babawasan mo yung liquidity mo. Karamihan ng pera mo, ilalagay mo sa bangko para mag-earn sila ng interest. Ngayon, pag mababa ang interest rate, would you want to put all of your money in the bank? The answer is no. Bakit? Mababa lang naman yung interest eh. Kunti lang yung kikitain ng pera ko doon. So I'd rather hold the money and use it for other purposes. So that's why downward sloping yung demand curve natin for money. Again, the higher the interest, the less liquid we prefer to be because we want more of our money to be deposited in the banks. Okay? So we're willing to let go of our money, put it in a bank if that would mean it's going to earn higher level of interest. Ngayon, if mababa lang interest, we'd rather keep the money rather than depositing it in the bank. Kasi yung return, it's not worth it. So yun yung demand for money. Now, how about the supply for money? Bakit siya diretso? Bakit hindi siya upward sloping like what we've seen before? The reason why supply for money is upward sloping. I'm sorry. The reason why supply for money is patayo lang siya is because the supply for money is not being affected by interest rate in this situation. Why? Because the determinant of the supply of money in the economy is the central bank. Yan. So it's the central bank that decides how much money how much money will be supplied within the economy. Okay, yung central bank natin yung nagde-determine nun. Since they have control over it, supply of money is not dependent on interest rate. Since wala silang relationship, so patayo lang yung graph niya. Okay? So let's apply a little bit of situation here. So let's say meron tayong mga non-interest rate factors that affect demand for money. Like for example, tumaas yung income mo. Let's say nag-overtime ka, 'di ba? Nag-overtime sa work mo. If that's going to happen, syempre, mataas yung income mo pagdating ng sweldo. And of course, yung income na yon, if you have higher income, that would also mean that you would earn more money. So tataas yung demand for money ngayon. So if money demand increases, let's say because because you've experienced an increase in income, but your supply remains the same, meaning si Bangko Sentral or any central bank, hindi naman sila nag-adjust ng money supply, what's going to happen? What's going to happen is tataas yung interest rates natin. Okay? So again, if money supply remains constant, okay? So as is lang siya, hindi siya binabago ng central bank, but your money demand increases, okay? Pag nag-increase yung demand mo, let's say yun nga, dahil tumaas yung sweldo mo, tataas ngayon ang interest rates. Okay? Next scenario. What if yung demand mo, it remains the same? Pero si Bangko Sentral, nag-decide siya na damihan yung money supply in the economy. So the central bank decides, let's increase money supply in the economy. What's gonna happen? If your demand remains as is, or if demand for money in the economy remains as is, and the central bank increases the money supply, it's going to lead to what? It's going to lead to lower interest rates. Yan. So I hope that through the graphical presentation, nakita nyo how the Bangko Sentral or any central bank does it. Okay? So what the central bank does is it regulates the money supply within the economy, and by regulating the money supply within the economy, it's able to affect the interest rates within the economy. Okay? So yun yung ginagawa ni central bank. By regulating money supply, it is able to target its achieved interest. It's able to target its desired interest rate. Yan. Now next question is, bakit naman gagawin ni central bank yun? Bakit why would the central bank choose to decrease money supply, or why would the central bank choose to increase money supply, 'di ba? Parang ano yung rationale niya doon, 'di ba? Bakit naman niya gagawin 'yan? So diyan papasok yung tinatawag natin na stabilization of the economy. Yan. So monetary policies are used to stabilize the economy. If you're going to picture the economy kasi, in the long run, if you're going to talk about the long run, di ba? Long run, so the long run, ano naman yan eh, pataas ang growth na economy when we're talking about the long run. Kasi nga, as time goes by, our laborers increase, di ba? Our laborers increase, our machines increase, tapos our technology continues to evolve. So over time, the economy is growing. However, if you're going to zoom in the short run, hindi naman yan dire-diretsyong up eh. May ups and downs yan. So the economy is volatile in the short run. So meron siyang up times, meron din siyang down times. And the BSP, what is the or the central bank, what it does is it tries to stabilize those ups and downs as much as possible. Now, how does it do it? It does it through the use of, yun nga, yung ating monetary policy or yung pag-regulate ng money supply in order to target their desired interest rate. Okay? So, ano ba yung mga situations wherein the economy becomes destabilized, and what can the BSP do in order to bring it back to its stabilized state? Okay? So unahin natin yung part na down sa economy. Okay? So like for example, nung pandemic, 'di ba? Nung pandemic, 'di ba sumadsad nga yung ekonomiya natin. So during downtimes, when the economy is experiencing downtimes, or when the economy is weak, that would also mean that the economy is running below its potential. So what do I mean when I say running below potential? It means that we have a lot of laborers, we have a lot of machines, but since demand in the economy is not that strong, so marami tayong mga resources na hindi nagagamit. Okay? Marami tayong mga trabahante na unemployed. Marami tayong mga machines na yun nga hindi nagagamit, 'di ba? So the economy is running below potential. 'Yon. Now, ano yung pwedeng gawin ni sabi ko na nga lang BSP. Ano yung pwedeng gawin ni BSP in order to bring the economy to its full potential? Pag ganun yung picture, pag ganun yung picture, kapag marami tayong workers that do not have work. Okay? So what the BSP can do is by increasing money supply in the economy, it can lower interest rates. Okay? So once it lowers interest rates, ano yung mangyayari? Pag binabaan ni BSP yung interest rates, una sa lahat, walang masyadong magse-save. You go back to the theory of liquidity preference. Walang masyadong magse-save, walang masyadong magtatago ng pera sa bangko. People would choose to spend. Ngayon, yung mga borrowers naman, they will be encouraged to borrow. Marami ang gustong mangutang. Bakit? Mababa interest rate. So pagsabayin mo yung dalawa, walang masyadong magse-save at maraming umuutang. Ano magiging endpoint nun? Ang magiging endpoint nun is maraming gagastos. Pag maraming gumastos, what's going to happen? Demand in the economy will strengthen. That will stimulate the economy towards its full potential. So yun, yung ganong scenario, yun yung when the BSP does that, it lowers interest rates by increasing money supply. Ito yung tinatawag natin na expansionary monetary policy. Okay? Ngayon, I don't know, siguro natanong nyo na rin to nung bata pa kayo. If pera lang naman ang basihan ng yaman, bakit hindi na lang mag-print ng pera si BSP, diba? So print na lang ng pera si BSP and then pamahagi niya sa lahat. Para lahat tayo mayaman, diba? Kasi lahat tayo maraming pera. So why is it that the BSP doesn't do that? The BSP doesn't do that because there's what you call overheating within the economy. Hindi naman pwedeng habang buhay print ng pera si BSP because that has consequences. So ano yung consequences nun? Ito siya. So balik tayo sa kwento natin kanina. Let's say the economy is running below potential. So maraming walang trabaho, and then the BSP decided to lower interest rates by injecting money supply. And nangyari nga lahat nung sinabi kong mangyayari. Savers chose to spend their money instead, and then borrowers increase, and then they spent also. So dumami yung economic activities natin. Nung dumami yung economic activities, yung mga dating walang trabaho, nabibigyan na sila ng trabaho ngayon. Kaya lang, pag pinagpatuloy-tuloy natin yan, ano yung eventually na mangyayari? We're going, of course, as mentioned, we're going to reach the economy's potential. So the economy is going to reach its full potential wherein, we are already at maximum capacity. What if nandun na tayo sa point na yon and the BSP still decides to keep interest rates low? Okay? So, imagine niyo yun, maximum capacity na tayo, lahat ng empleyado natin, lahat ng workers natin employed na, lahat ng machines natin gamit na, yung technology naman natin up to speed, 'di ba? So we don't have any more resource to employ pa. Kasi lahat employed na eh. So lahat utilized na. So there's nothing left. Now if the BSP will still keep interest rates low, saan na mapupunta yung additional na pera na i-inject nila within the economy? So wala na. Ang mangyayari na lang, that will be what? In one way or another, that will be distributed amongst the current economic agents. And of course, they will continue to spend it. Kasi nga, mababa interest rate, di ba? They will continue to spend it. Ano mangyayari ngayon? It will lead to inflation. Okay? So kapag ka ganun, dumami yung money supply in the economy, pero there's no capacity within the economy to absorb it, sa prices na lang siya sa prices na lang siya mapupunta. It will lead to it will sustain the strong demand, but at maximum capacity our production is already limited, so hindi na natin kayang tapatan yung demand na yun. So mangyayari na lang, tataas yung presyo ng mga bilihin. So syempre the BSP has to avoid that. Now what can the BSP do in order to avoid that, in order to avoid inflation, high levels of inflation or overheating? What it will do is it will now slow down or even decrease money supply in order to raise interest rates. Yan. So once it raises interest rates, ano naman ang mangyayari? If it raises interest rates, syempre yung mga savers, gugustuhin na nilang mag-save. Magtitipid na ako. Magtatago na ako ng pera sa bangko kasi mataas interest. So malaki yung kikitain ko doon. Yung mga borrowers, madi-discourage sila mag-borrow. Ayoko na mangutang. Ang taas ng interest. Diba? Baka hindi ko kayang bayaran yan. Okay? Now, ano yung magiging endpoint nun? If savers will choose to save and the borrowers are discouraged from borrowing, what's going to happen is hihina yung spending within the economy. And once spending in the economy weakens, it will go, once spending in the economy is tempered, ma-address natin yung inflation problem. Inflation will decline and the economy will go back to its stabilized state. So yun yung ginagawa ng monetary policy. So if you will notice, it's trying to, if you will notice the BSP or any central bank, it's trying to balance something. It's trying to balance prices or price stability and the economy's health. So ang ginagawa ni BSP is it's always trying to target or it's always trying to determine the interest rate level that will make sure na stable yung prices natin, wala tayong masyadong inflation, but at the same time, yung economy natin, it's running healthy. So yun yung balancing na ginagawa ni BSP. If it lowers interest rate too much for a long period of time, yes, the economy will grow fast, but at the same time, prices will rise sharply. Now, if the BSP chooses to raise interest rates and they do it for a long period of time, yes, prices will be under control, but at the same time, yung economy natin, hihina siya. Okay, so interest rates cannot be too high or too low. The BSP will have to, determine that right level of interest rate which will balance price stability and economic growth. So yun yung nagagawa ng monetary policy. Okay? So next question is, paano naman siya ginagawa ni BSP? Diba? How does the BSP deposit money in the economy and how does it take away money from the economy? So dyan papasok ngayon yung tinatawag natin na monetary policy tools. Okay? So there are three. You have the open market operations, you have the reserve requirement ratios, and then you have the discount facility or the discount window. So unahin natin yung open market operations. So in the open market operations, what the BSP does is it participates in the financial market, particularly in the bond market. Okay? So how does it do it? If the BSP wants to increase money supply in the economy, meaning it's going for an expansionary monetary policy, ang gagawin niya, bibili siya ng bonds sa market. Okay, so let's say the bond market is here, I'm the BSP, bili ako sa bond market, anong mangyayari? the BSP will take in bonds. In exchange, it will let go of money that it will pay in the bond market. And yung money na yun, mag-circulate sa economy, money supply is going to increase. Diba? Now, pag contractionary naman, what the BSP is going to do, yung mga tinago niyang bonds, ibebenta niya sa bond market. So pag binenta niya sa bond market yung bonds, it will let go of the bonds, but in exchange, it will take in money. And that money will stop from circulating within the economy. So that's how open market operations work. Next naman, ito siguro mas familiar kayo dito kasi ito medyo madalas nababalita rin ito. Ito yung tinatawag natin na reserve requirement ratios. Okay? Now, sa reserve requirement ratios, the central bank determines how much deposited money banks should keep as reserves. Okay? So, take note na kapag nag-deposit po kayo sa bangko, hindi lahat ng dineposit nyo pwedeng ipautang ng bangko. Okay? A portion of that it has to keep. Okay? And itong portion na to, ang nagde-decide nun is si BSP. Okay? So, for example, the reserve requirement ratio is at 10%. Kapag nag-deposit ka ng 100 pesos in a bank, ang pwede lang ipautang ni bank doon is 90 pesos. Yung 10 pesos doon, itatago niya as a reserve requirement. Yan. So, yun yung nagagawa ng reserve requirement ratio. Next question. So, how does the BSP expand or contract money supply through reserve requirement ratio? If the BSP wants to expand money supply, gusto niya paramihin yung pera within the economy, it can lower the reserve requirement ratio. So, yung steady state example natin is 10%, diba? What if binabaan ni BSP into 5%? So, the next time na magde-deposit ka ng 100 pesos sa bangko, kung 5% na lang ang reserve requirement ratio, the bank can now lend 95 pesos out of your 100. Now, paano naman kapag contractionary si BSP? Gusto niyang untian yung money supply within the economy. What it will do is it will raise the reserve requirement ratio. So sabihin natin from 10%, gagawin niyang 15%. So kung dati, yung 10 pesos mo, 90 pesos doon ang pinapautang ni bangko, kapag tinasa ni BSP to 15% yung RRR, yung 100 pesos mo ngayon, pag dineposit mo siya sa bangko, 85 pesos na lang doon ang pwedeng ipautang ni BSP. Yan. I'm sorry, 85% na lang doon ang pwedeng ipautang ng bangko. Okay, yung 15% kailangan niyang yung 15% or yung 15 pesos kailangan niyang itago yon as its reserve requirement for the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. So that's how the BSP can increase or decrease money supply through reserve requirement ratios. And finally, you have the discount window. So, si Central Bank, by the end of the day, bangko siya. And siya yung tinatawag natin na lender of last resort. Kumbaga, yung mga bangko natin, pag wala na silang ibang malalapitan para mautangan ng pera, kay BSP sila lalapit. Okay? So, if for example, I'm a bank and I need funds, syempre, business ko yun, gusto ko magpautang. Wala nagpapautang sa akin. So what I can do is I can approach BSP. BSP, baka naman pwede mangutang ako sa inyo. Papautang ko lang sa mga customers ko, sa mga clients ko. So the BSP can do that. Okay? Now, the central bank lends to banks who are in need. And syempre, meron siyang tinatawag na, ito nga yung, dun sa discount window niya, syempre, may interest rate yun. Now, if the BSP wants to expand monetary policy, ang pwede niyang gawin, bababaan niya yung interest rate dun sa discount window niya. Now, if it does that, mas makakapangutang yung mga bangko. Mas makakapangutang yung mga bangko, mas marami silang may papautang ngayon sa general public. Hence, money supply in the economy will increase. Ngayon, if gusto naman ni BSP na pauntiin yung money supply within the economy, tatasan niya yung interest rate doon sa discount window niya. If it does that, so mahihirapan yung mga bangko ngayon na mangutang sa kanya. Kasi mahal eh. And kapag nahirapan sila mangutang kay BSP, hindi rin sila masyado makakapagpautang sa general public. And if that happens, then magi-slow down yung money supply within the economy. So ayun. So that's how the BSP can increase or decrease money supply within the economy through discount window. Okay, so those are the tools: open market operations, the reserve requirement ratios, and finally the discount window. So next naman, how does it affect? Okay, so how does, ayan nga, ito na. How does monetary policy affect the stock market? So as discussed, the main target of monetary policies are the interest rates within the economy. So meanwhile, the movement of interest rates have a significant impact on the movement of funds within the financial markets, including the stock market. Okay? So nakita naman natin na what with what the BSP is doing, ang laging tinatamaan dun is yung interest rates natin. And yung interest rates naman, ang nagagawa, they have a huge impact on the movement of funds within the financial market. Okay, so how does interest rate movement affect the stock market? So we can look at it from three standpoints. You have the investor standpoint, you have the corporate valuation standpoint, and you have the macroeconomic standpoint. So unahin natin sa investor standpoint. So ayan, during tight monetary policies, interest rate rise, yun pala mga setting ko dito is more on pagka-tight yung monetary policy, meaning pag mataas ang interest rates. Okay? Syempre, if interest rates are low, the opposite of what I'm saying here is what's going to happen. Okay? So for now, let's stick with a scenario wherein monetary policies are tight. What's going to happen? If monetary policies are tight, syempre, tataas ang interest rates, di ba? Pag tumaas ang interest rates, what does that mean? It means na tataas yung ating mga bond returns. Okay? Kasi bonds are what? Bonds are, the movement of our bonds is dependent on interest rates. So if interest rates rise, tataas din yung bond returns natin. And if bond returns increase, especially if their returns increase beyond stock returns, syempre, investors would choose to shift to the bond market. Parang, ay, taas na ng return sa bonds. Lipat muna ako doon. Exit muna ako sa stocks. So they're going to shift their portfolios away from stocks into the bonds. What's going to happen? Bibitawan nila yung mga stocks nila, ipagbebenta nila sa market. Hence, magkakaroon tayo ng selling pressure in the local market. Okay? Ayun. So take note that yun nga, bonds, they are also considered as less risky compared to stocks. So if let's say you have a bond return and the stock return, equal lang sila, less risky si bonds. So for the investor, ano lang ako, sa bonds na lang ako. Parehas na lang sila na return ng stock, less risky pa sa bonds. Diba? So, yun. As investors shift to the bond market because of high interest rates, stocks get abandoned, and as they get abandoned, their prices become depressed. Yun. Also, you can also look at it this way. You can also look at it this way. If interest rates, sorry, medyo naglag ng konti. If interest rates are high, what does that mean? When interest rates are high, it also means that bond prices are low. Again, you go back to the simple law of demand. If the price of something is low, many people will get into it. So if interest rates are high, bond prices are low. And if bond prices are low, people or investors would prefer it to stocks. Yun. So that is from the investor standpoint. Next naman is yung ating corporate performance and valuation standpoint. Okay? So when interest rate rise, corporates find it harder to raise capital due to the rising cost of borrowing money. Okay? So, ayun na nga, di ba? Pag mataas ang interest rates, nahihirapang mangutang yung mga companies natin. Okay? And dalawa lang naman yung pag nahirapan sila mangutang, then it kind of affects their prospects. Kasi remember, when companies want to, let's say, expand, when companies want to venture into other projects, what do they usually do? They do capital raising. Okay? So they do capital raising, and they usually do that either in the stock market, yun nga mag-IPO sila, or in the bond market, wherein mangungutang sila, di ba? Or pwede rin sa bangko, mangungutang sila from the bank. But what if interest rates are high? If interest rates are high, companies will find it hard to borrow money from the bond market or from the banks. Okay? Now, and this is going to affect their prospects. Now, two things can happen. Either companies will continue to borrow money even at high interest rates, or companies would choose not to borrow at all para maiwasan yung high interest rates. Now, dun muna tayo sa pangalawa. What if companies choose not to borrow money? I mean, wag na lang tayo mangutang kasi ang taas na interest rates. Pag hindi nangutang yung mga companies natin, edi syempre, hindi nila mapupursue kaagad yung mga expansion plans nila, yung mga projects nila for the future, di ba? Now, if that happens, ano yung mangyayari sa mga companies? So, yung prospects nila, medyo matetemper. I mean, they'll still be able to generate revenues moving forward, but not as much as if they were able to borrow money and pursue their projects. Okay? Kumbaga, they will miss opportunities. Okay? And these missed opportunities are going to temper their prospects. Di ba, tayo mga investors, when we look into a company and when we try to decide as to whether we're going to invest into it or not, ang tinitingnan natin is yung future niya. Part of what we're looking into is its future. Especially dun sa mga especially dun sa mga talagang na gumagawa ng valuation for companies. So kapag tempered ang future ng mga companies natin, what's going to happen? So hindi ganoon kabilis yung, let's say, yung pag-angat ng revenues nila. And what can this lead to? This may lead to what? Lower it depends. If let's say you are using a discounted cash flow model for your valuation, kapag tempered yung prospects ng companies natin, so tempered yung revenue projections natin, tempered din yung free cash flow projections natin. And pag tempered yung free cash flow projections natin, nakaka-apekto siya sa valuation ng mga company. Okay? So that is if hindi sila mangungutang. Ngayon, what if nangutang sila? If nangutang sila at a time wherein interest rates are high, they will have to bear the high interest rate. And papasok 'yun sa ating cost of debt. Okay? So remember when you are computing para sa mga para sa mga gumagawa ng valuations. When you are trying to determine the discount rate of a stock, isa sa mga kino-consider mo is yung yung interest rates na kakibat ng mga utang niya. If mataas yung interest rates, pwede niyang pataasin yung discount rate ng mga companies natin. And if tumaas yung discount rate, so makakapagpababa rin yun ng valuations. Okay? Another thing, if you are looking at the earnings naman as a basis of valuation for our companies, diba? If you're looking at earnings, remember that if interest rates are high, that could lead to what? High interest expenses for our companies. And if mataas ang interest expenses, tatamaan yung profits ng mga companies natin. Pag tinamaan yung profits nila, tatamaan rin yung valuations nila from an earnings standpoint, like sa dividends or sa price to earnings ratio, diba? So yun yung pwedeng magawa ng high interest rates sa mga companies natin. And finally, from a macroeconomic standpoint. Yeah. So from a macroeconomic standpoint, syempre, yun nga, when you have high interest rates, okay? When you have high interest rates, so babagal yung overall demand within the economy. And pag bumagal yung overall demand within the economy, syempre, it's going to negatively affect our companies. Okay? So you have a slowdown in demand. If you have a slowdown in demand, then that could possibly mean what? Lower revenues for our companies. And kapag lower yung revenues nila, syempre, tuloy-tuloy na yun. It will also trickle down to their valuations. So that's the problem that we are facing, especially the stock market or stocks, whenever interest rates are high. Yeah. So it affects in different aspects, from the investor standpoint, from a corporate valuation standpoint, and from a macroeconomic standpoint. Okay? So that's theory. Theory yun eh. But what does the statistics have to show? So let's look at the statistics. Okay? So, ayun. So una, tignan muna natin yung galaw. Tignan natin yung galaw ng ating policy rate for since 2021. Okay? As well as yung galaw ng ating stock market. So if you're going to look at our policy rate, so yun nga, we've been under easy monetary policy in 2021. until 2022 because of yun nga, we are trying to recover from the pandemic. However, yun nga, as the economy recovered, so nagtaas rin ang policy rates CBSP. Yun nga, the economy recovered and then inflation increased, diba? So the BSP decided to raise policy rates. So tinaas yung policy rates niya hanggang sa umabot na siya ng 6.5%. Now sa kabila naman, you will see that the local market since 2021, so it's been volatile, but if you're going to draw a trend line, makikita nyo na negatively biased si or downwardly biased si local market. Okay? So as policy rates have been increasing from 2021 to present time, the PSE has been downwardly biased. Now, let's look into further, let's investigate further. This time naman, gamitin natin iba't ibang yields. Okay, so I've decided to use 3-month yield for short term, 5-year yield for medium term, and finally 10-year yield for long term. Okay? So unahin natin is yung 3-month yield. And what I did here is I plotted yung tinatawag natin na scatter plot. Okay? So sa scatter plot, what we do here is pinagbabangga natin yung mga data natin between two variables in order to see if one variable is at this level, nasa naman yung kabilang variable. So for let's say dito sa graph na to, 'di ba? If you're going to look at this point, yung nasa pinakataas, so ang I don't know if this is being try nating annotate. Ayan. So if makikita niyo yan, makikita niyo yan, ang sinasabi niyan, if the 3-month yield is what? Close to 9%, then yung PSEI mo is just at what? Near 1,000. Whereas if your if your 3-month yield is just at what? 3-month yield is just at, you know, dito, which is what? Between 2 to 3%. Then your market is close to 9,000. Yan. So ganun siya, ganun mo babasahin ang isang scatter plot. Now to make it easier, what we can do is to draw a trend line. So ang ginagawa ng trend line is ina-average niya yung observations natin. Okay? And based on the trend line, what we're going to see is there is a downward sloping relationship between your 3-month yield and your PSEI. Meaning, as the 3-month yield increases, your PSEI decreases. Okay? So, ayun. Actually, itong trend line na to, para lang rin to yung pinakita ko sa inyo kanina sa law of demand and supply. It just so happens na back then, yung kanina, it was drawn based on theory, whereas it's drawn based on data observation. Now, in order to further investigate, what we did is we took the change in the 3-month yield as well as the change in the PSEI. So, bakit natin gagawin yon? In statistics kasi, there's what you call a spurious relationship. Do take note na, sorry, I need to take time and explain a little. In statistics kasi, when you're dealing with, especially in time series, when you're dealing with time series data, take note that many variables have trends. Okay, so marami silang trends. Maraming variables na may trend. Okay, now if you're going to do, let's say, relationship investigation between the two, there's a tendency na makakakita ka ng significant relationship. But that doesn't necessarily mean na in theory may relationship talaga yung dalawa. It just so happens na parehas silang may trend, and since both of them have trends, they appear to be showing a statistical relationship. Like, ito, bigyan ko kayo ng simple example. As time goes by, or as time passes by, dumadami yung number of deaths. Kasi tumataas yung population. So the number of deaths increases. At the same time, as time goes by, our GDP also increases. So you can see that there's a positive, there's an upward trend for the two. Ngayon, pag ginawa mo sila ng trend analysis, you will see that statistically, they are positively correlated. Kasi parehas silang uptrend. But if you're to ask yourself, is that really the case? Is there really a relationship between number of deaths as well as the GDP? Diba? So in order to avoid that problem, yung tinatawag natin na spurious relationship, what we do is we take the changes. And then yun yung ating gagawan ng yun yung ating gagawa ng relationship investigation. Just like in this example. So in the second graph, makikita natin dito, so this is the change in the 3-month yield compared to the change in the PSEI. And makikita nyo dito, let's say in this example, in this example, ayan, like for example, what this is telling us is if your 3-month yield posts a 1 percentage point change, then your PSEI is likely to post a change that is close to negative 1,000. So yun yung sinasabi ng graph na yan. Okay? And of course, just like with the previous graph, so nag-draw rin tayo ng trend line. And your trend line will show you that the change in your 3-month yield has a negative relationship with your change in the PSEI. Meaning, in fact, it has a slope of negative 81.94. Which tells us that based on the past observations, on average, if your 3-month yield increases by 1 percentage point, then your PSEI has the tendency to decline by 81.94 points. Okay? Ayan. Wait lang. Siyempre, we also did that to our 5-year yield. So for our 5-year yield, just like with the 3-month yield, makikita nyo that there's also a negative relationship. If you're going to, between the 5-year yield and the PSEI, as well as in the change of the 5-year yield and in the change in the PSEI. In fact, there's a slope of negative 206.17, which tells us that, as your 5-year yield increases by 1 percentage point, your PSEI, based on past observation, tends to decrease by 206.17 points. And finally, for our 10-year yield, you're going to see still a negative relationship between the two based on their graph. And if you're going to look at the change in the 10-year yield to the change in PSEI, you will also see a negative relationship. Now, as your 10-year yield increases by 1 percentage point, your PSEI tends to decrease by 161.86 points based on past observation. Okay, so that's graphical analysis. Now, next, let's look at correlations matrix. So, correlations type. Now, in statistics, one thing that I can teach you here is you have to look at p-values. Okay, so p-values will tell you if your result is statistically significant or not. If it's not statistically significant, it just means that it's not different from 0. Okay, so how will you know if a certain result, statistical result, is statistically significant? It has to be lower than 5%. Others, they consider results with p-values lower than 10% as significant. But in our end, as we try to be strict, consider natin is 5%. Okay. So based on the correlations, you will see here, ang correlations pala, what it does is it tries to measure the direction as well as the strength of the relationship between two variables. Okay? So with the change in the 3-month yield, yung kanyang relationship with the PSEI is negative 0.16 or negative 0.17. And it has a p-value of 0.001 or about close to 1%. So this is statistically significant. Now, I want you to look at your table at the right. Ito yung breakdown natin ng levels and interpretation. So makikita nyo dito na si 3-month yield, yung kanyang correlation coefficient with the market is what? Nasa 0.17. So what is that telling us? Una, tignan nyo yung sign. The sign is negative, meaning there's a negative relationship between the 3-month yield and the PSEI. Next is yung coefficient itself. In this case, it's what? At 0.17. And if you're going to look at the table here, makikita nyo na nandito siya sa 0.01 to 0.20 group, which is what? A very weak correlation. So our results show that yes, there is a negative correlation between the 3-month yield and the PSEI, but this is a very weak correlation. Now, if you look at the 5-year yield, it also posts statistically significant results. This time naman, it's negative 0.37. So negative, meaning there's a negative correlation between the 5-year yield and the PSEI, and 37, which falls within 0.21 to 0.40, which is weak correlation. Same with the 10-year yield, statistically significant with a correlation coefficient of negative 0.30. And this tells us that the 10-year yield is, yes, it has a negative correlation with the market, but it is a weak correlation. So that's what the correlation matrix is telling us. Finally, we post regression. Same, we still have p-values here. So you have to look at the p-value. If you're going to look at the regression results, you will see here na ang significant lang sa kanila is 5-year yield. Okay? So when we're already trying to determine the unit change, ang statistically significant na lang is yung ating, pag pinagsama-sama natin sila in one model, ang statistically significant na lang sa kanila is yung 5-year yield natin. Okay? And ang sinasabi dito, negative 189, which tells us that for every 1 percentage point increase in the change of your 5-year yield, your PSE tends to, have a change of negative 189 points. Okay? So, ayun. So, the rest, negative din sila, yung coefficient, but they have what? They have insignificant results already. Kasi your p-value is already above 5 or even 10%. Finally, we tried to expand the model. So, nagdagdag tayo ng iba pang mga variables. Like, for example, yung peso natin, as well as yung S&P, which is yung stock market sa US. Makikita natin dito that, again, yung p-values ng 3-month yield tsaka ng 10-year yield, they're already insignificant. So, yung 5-year yield lang yung statistically significant if we're determining a unit relationship with the market or with the local market. Makikita natin dito na if your 5-year yield increases by 1 percentage point, then your PSEI has the tendency to decline by 160.13 points. So, that's based on statistical investigation. Makikita nyo rin dito that the peso is statistically significant and also has a negative relationship with the PSEI, meaning that as your peso depreciates further, your PSEI tends to decline. The S&P 500 naman, it has a typo lang, but this is a positive relationship, so that's 0.785, meaning that as your S&P 500 increases, your PSEI tends to increase as well. Okay? But yun, the peso and the S&P, that's for another topic. So focus muna tayo sa interest rates. Okay? So key takeaways from our statistical investigation. So our graphical analysis showed the negative relationships of the PSEI, the 3-month, 5-year, and 10-year yields. Our correlation matrix showed the same. Strength-wise, however, we saw only a very weak correlation between the PSEI and 3-month yield, and a weak correlation between the PSEI and the 5-year and 10-year yield. And finally, in our regression analysis, only the 5-year yield shows statistically significant results, which is in line with the theory that as interest rates increase, then your PSEI or your stock that tends to decrease. Okay? So those are the key takeaways from our stats. So what can we do? So given the tendency of the local market to be bearish when monetary policies tighten, finding opportunities for capital gains could be challenging. I mean, nakita naman natin in the past months or even in the past years that as the BSP tightens policies, nahihirapan tayong makachempo ng mga capital gain opportunities. So what we can do instead is go for dividend plays, number 1. So hanap muna tayo ng stocks na religious dividend payers. Yung mga masipag magbigay ng dividend. And at the same time, kailangan makahanap tayo ng stocks in which their dividend yields are higher than the prevailing interest rates. Mas maganda if makakakita tayo ng stocks na hindi ganon ka-volatile, na hindi sila masyadong magalaw, diba? Para medyo protektado rin tayo in terms of price action. Okay? So, on our part, in the research part, what we did is we looked into the PSE dividend index and we tried to rank them according to dividend, of course, their dividend pay, as well as their financial performance, as well as their volatility. Okay? So upon checking on those, nakita namin that these are the stocks that are best if we are gonna go into preservation of capital. So you have SEC, you have MB, you have LTG, you have CREIT, you have MBT, and finally you have RCR. If you'll notice, 3 of those are coming from the REITs. Yeah. So ayun. Another thing that we can do is accumulate for the long term. So while it's bothering to hear that the market is bearish, take note that it is in the down times where investors can get stocks at very bargain levels. So maximize opportunity by getting the stocks which we identify as fundamentally undervalued. However, do your accumulation slowly and at identified strong support levels. So don't go all out until we see clear signs of reversal. So yes, sadly, yun nga, when interest rates are high, the market is declining. But do take note as well that when the market declines, that's a good opportunity to do bargain hunting. Kasi there will still be stocks that will be fundamentally strong even in times when interest rates are high. So kailangan nating mahanap yung mga fundamentally strong stocks na yon and then buy yung mga fundamentally strong companies na yon and then buy their stocks when their prices decline. Ayan. Ayun nga lang, since usually bearish ang market kapag mataas ang interest rates, as we've seen both in theory and in stats, so be careful with your accumulation. So huwag munang aggressive. Paunti-unti lang tayo. Best if we can buy them at strong support levels. And finally, look for negative correlations. Ayan. So for those who really want opportunities for capital gains, while the market is on a downtrend, look for stocks that are negatively correlated with the market. So nakita niyo naman yung correlation matrix kanina, di ba? You can also apply that to stocks and to the general market. So hanap kayo ng mga stocks na kapag kinorelate niyo sa market, negative yung correlation nila. Which means na kapag tumataas si market, bumababa yung stock na yon. But at the same time, pag bumababa si market, tumataas yung stocks na yon. Okay? I did a little bit of investigation amongst the industries. And if you're going to look at the past 200 days, so far nakita ko na negatively correlated with the market is those in the mining and oil index. So that means if stocks are declining or if the general market is declining, there's a possibility that the mining stocks are rising. So pwede kayong dun tumingin para mag-trade if ever the market is bearish. Ayan. Before I completely end, yun lang, going back to my stats, going back to my regression. So just a disclaimer, especially for those who are statistical experts. So do take the results with a grain of salt. Yun, I acknowledge that this model is still imperfect. It's still under development kasi yun, the errors of my model are not normally distributed. So further developments are still needed. So do take the results with a grain of salt. So yun, bago ko siya makalimutan. So ayun, to completely end, ayan, just want to share this with you. So this is from Proverbs 9 verse 10. So the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is insight. So when we are going through tough times, both inside and outside the market, things can tend to be really hard. So sobrang mahirap siya. And it's going to be harder if we remain arrogant. So rather than doing that, I believe it's best if we put ourselves in a humble position. So humble ourselves, acknowledge that, we don't know everything and we cannot handle everything. I mean, if you will indulge me, humble ourselves before God. And then I think that's where things will start to get better. Sabi nga, fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So, ayun, thank you very much. And I'm really sorry. I know that I've gone through overtime. So, ayun, dami ko kasi nalagay sa slides ko. But again, thank you very much. Ayun.
All right. Well, talagang that's a very learning field session na binigay sa atin ni Japet, ano? So we learned a lot about monetary policies and the different tools that central banks are using to regulate economic activity in the market. So hindi lang pala goods and services ang may presyo, no? Pati rin ang pera. And ang cost to using or borrowing money is what we call the interest rates. So it's nice to be seeing a presentation like this. I remember attending our money and banking class in college, ito yung subject na itinuro sa akin ng one of my favorite professors before, no, si Professor Duran. So anyway, ayan, Japet, kailangan mo ba muna magtubig at medyo mahaba-haba yung discussion mo kanina, or are you ready to take the questions typed in by our participants? So we already have a lot of questions in Zoom, and for our Facebook Live viewers, just type in your question in the comment section, and we'll try to answer most of them as yun nga, we have a few minutes to spare. Okay.
Sige po, I believe
So,
it's we can answer questions na.
okay, sige, good. Kanina, no, you made it clear yung correlation ng interest rates and the PSEI. They're negatively correlated. So habang
Yes.
pag tumaas ang interest rate, bumababa ang index. Na yan, by how much, you also showed that in your discussion. Pero merong question tayo dito from an anonymous attendee. Siguro nag-i-invest siya sa fixed income, sa bonds. Can you clarify the relationship between interest rates and bond returns naman?
Well, the bond returns are based on interest rates. So if your
Okay.
interest rates, I mean, the very benchmark is bond returns are interest rates, diba? And the very benchmark
Right.
of interest rates are the BSP's policy rates. So if the BSP increases its policy
Tama.
rates, all interest rates tend to follow, including bond returns.
Okay. Sige. Well, it's good that we've clarified that. Now, let's go back to the topic. Meron akong isang question dito na quite interesting kanina. Wala. Okay, ito na lang. So, the BSP has signaled that it would probably lower interest rates. Ito bang info na to na price in na sa PSE index right now? Or meron pang chance for our investors to buy more of an index fund based on the PSEI?
Okay, so thank you very much for the question. As we can see, there's already a little bit of excitement in the market right now. I mean, medyo tumataas na siya recently kasi nga nagsisignal na si BSP that, there's the possibility of a rate cut soon. But I believe it's not yet fully priced in. I believe there will be more excitement once the BSP really starts to cut rates. And another thing that's uncertain kasi is by how much. So ngayon nakikita pa lang natin na okay, the BSP is gonna cut by, let's say, 25 basis points, and many are already excited. What if the BSP decides na in the future, let's cut rates more? If cuts are rate more, interest rates will lower further, and if interest rates lower further, then the market will further rise. So ayun, what we're seeing right now, the dovish signals from the BSP, they're good. But if more of that comes, then there's still a lot of potential upside in the market.
Okay. Looking at the REITs kanina, no, in your table, meron kang, kasi these are dividend-paying stocks. Meron bang relationship kang nakita when you were doing your studies? This is from an anonymous attendee, between REITs and interest rates?
Actually, we haven't done a statistical investigation pa. So let's go with the theory muna. REITs kasi, dividend play din sila, diba? And all dividend plays, ang ginagawang benchmark sa kanila is the interest rate. Okay? Kasi as I said before, parang interest rate, this is the relatively speaking the least risky returns. So all other returns will be compared onto it. Now, if nakita ng mga investors na si REITs, let's say, lumalamang lang ng pantay lang sila, or lumalamang lang ng konti, much worse if mas mababa yung REIT dividend yields kesa sa interest rates, then people would choose to let go of REITs in favor of bonds. Diba? So yun yung nangyayari. So if interest rates are increasing, there's a tendency na bitawan rin ng mga investors yung REITs.
Okay. So given the expectation na magkakaroon ng rate cuts are you expecting a shift for the investors, that are invested in bonds going to high dividend paying stocks?
Well, if we're going to look at the theory and the stats, yes, we can expect that to happen. Kasi once bond returns decline, of course, investors would, of course, always looking for higher returns. They're going
Mhm.
to be looking into the stock market. So, which is nga, dividend plays, and dividend plays are coming not only from REITs but also from many of our index members, diba? Now, take note that if interest rates
Right.
decline, then it's going to it's going to lead to better financial performance to our companies. Better financial performance, better profitability, higher dividends. So most likely investors will go back to the stock market, especially to dividend paying stocks if interest rates decline.
And speaking of dividend-paying stocks, you are not limited to REITs. The PSE has a dividend yield index, which shows you
Yes.
the top 20 companies that are paying the highest dividends over the last 3 years. So you may also want to check on that. Ito, nahanap ko na yung question ni Levi John Bores.
Mm.
So everyone's, anticipating the cut rates of the BSP, no? This coming August. Sa tingin mo, Japet, how many basis points, if ever?
Well, I believe the BSP will decide to be cautious with it muna. So it could be 25 basis points. And so they're going to start cautiously muna. But if they see that, inflation continues to decline, kasi ano naman yan yun
Mhm.
naman yung laging basehan ni BSP. What is inflation data telling us? So right now, inflation is already, it's contained within target. It's within target pa naman.
Mhm.
Pero nagsimula lang siyang mag-decline ulit itong June. And nasa 3.7% pa siya, which is close to the upper end of the government's target, which is 4%. So they might do it cautiously muna, and as inflation approaches, let's say mid of the target, which is 3%, and if it goes lower, let's say it goes to the lower end of the government's target, let's say lumapit na sa 2% inflation, then that could be the time that the BSP will become aggressive in cutting policy rates.
All right. You said earlier na hindi naman ganun ka lakas yung correlation ng
Mm.
interest rates and ng index. In fact, nasa weak correlation. Pero
Mm.
every time there's an adjustment, we can see markets reacting to it.
Mm.
Especially pag nakikita na natin yung impact on inflation.
Mm.
So is it safe to say, Jafet, na mas sensitive yung market when looking at data on inflation instead of interest rates?
Okay. So we're currently investigating on that. However, based on my
Mhm.
initial analysis, actually there's no correlation between current inflation and the PSEI. So if
Okay.
inflation moves, let's say it does, possible reasons for that is maaga siyang pina-price in ng investors kasi na-observe kaagad siya,
Mhm.
na-observe naman kaagad yung inflation.
Right.
Even before the PSA announces the inflation data, investors are already anticipating what inflation would be. So talagang paglabas ng inflation data, so parang priced in na siya. Yun yung one of the reasons kung bakit nalilimit yung impact niya on the current PSEI's movement. Inflation is more of a leading variable rather than a leading variable, meaning investors tend to anticipate it and then they price it, and then once inflation comes out, okay, priced in na yan, so we don't have much reactions towards it anymore. So siguro that's one of the reasons that I'm attributing it to kung bakit statistically so far they don't have a significant relationship. So for now, I would say that interest rates have a stronger impact on the market as compared to inflation.
Right. But it's also important to note that yung mga investors natin are very prospective, they
Mm,
invest on the promise. Kaya
yes.
talagang very sensitive sila on such
Mm.
matters. Um Very interesting lang, no? We've been talking about interest rates for the past hour. And you've mentioned that there are industries, that may be affected by this, either positively or negatively, depending on the business. Here's an interesting question from Facebook. Si Patrick Marquez is asking, how about yung mga banks?
Mm.
Yung mga bank stocks, like BDO, BPI, Metrobank, and the other bank stocks. Ano ang effect sa kanila nitong changes in the policies?
Yan, good question. Interesting. Banks are special case. Kasi remember,
Mhm.
saan sila kumikita? By borrowing and lending money. So if interest rates are high, banks tend to benefit. Kasi mataas yung pwede nilang rate na ipataw dun sa mga nangungutang sa kanila. In fact, if you're going to look at, the performance of our banks recently because of the high interest rate level, tumataas din yung tinatawag na lang net interest margins. Meaning they're able to make the most out of their earning assets, diba? So, they tend to benefit. But, syempre, hindi naman habang buhay yun. Hindi naman habang buhay na mataas ang interest, makikinabang lagi yung mga banks. Remember that the economy has what you call an absorptive capacity. Hindi naman habang buhay kayang buhatin ni economy yung mataas na interest rates. A time will come wherein borrowers will say na nahirapan na talaga ako sa mataas na interest, hindi na ako mangungutang. And once that happens, doon natatamaan yung mga bangko natin. But in the short term, as interest rates as interest rates increase, in the short term, following that increase, there's the tendency for banks to benefit.
All right. Well, for the last question that we can take in this afternoon from an anonymous attendee, maganda kasi very general and macro ang question niya. We have a very strong economic growth for the Philippines, actually, compared to our peers. But somehow the PSEI is not reflecting this. Some would say, di ba, the stock market should be reflecting the country's economy. Pero yung na-observe nila, strong economic growth, but yung PSEI natin is somehow moving sideways. Ano ba talaga? Ito bang economic growth has little or no effect, or should it have a higher effect in the stock market?
Okay. By the end of the day, yes. So here's what we have to understand about the stock market's movement. The stock market's movement initially is driven by expectation. Sabi nga nila, the stock market is a barometer of economic expectations. So it's always it's usually forward looking. Okay? So we see economic growth happening right now, but investors kasi are really focused towards the future. Okay, we have strong economic growth right now, but how's economic growth going to be in the future? Especially with the variables that we are taking into consideration right now. Nakakalipas lang, buti nga bumaba na but in the past we've had high inflation, and then interest rates are still high. Do take note that if interest rates are high, then it's going to have an impact on future economic growth. Yun nga, they have a lag effect. Hindi naman ibig sabihin na bababaan ni BSP yung interest rates by second half of this year. Agad-agad magre-reflect sa economic growth yun. Hindi, it has a lag effect. So, so they look into the future, and if investors see that the future of the economy is still gloomy because of the variables that we are considering right now, then they will still choose to be bearish towards the local market. So based on if I'm going to look at the market right now, that's how I would analyze it. Yes, we have good economic growth currently, but investors are really worried with the high interest rate level, plus the things that are happening abroad and how they could affect our economic growth in the future. So ayun.
Well, wise words from our guest this afternoon, Mr. Japet Tantiangco, Research Manager at the PhilStocks Financial. Japet, talaga mabenta ka today. Kanina pala nasa Business Roadshow ka ng ANC.
Yes,
I have the pleasure of sharing the airtime with the celebrity this afternoon.
Grabe naman.
Okay, so ano na lang, sige, konting hirit pa sa'yo before I let you go. Baka meron kang tips na pwede mong mabigay sa mga attendees natin, given our discussion today, and maybe what do you think they should do, in the coming months that would help them in their stock investment journey?
Ayun. Well, if you're going to base it on the discussion that we've had today, the how monetary policies impact the stock market. Ayun. So, na-explain ko naman kanina that, when interest rates are high, then it tends to be, interest rates have a negative correlation with the market. They have a negative relationship with the market. If interest rates are high, mostly because of the BSP's monetary tightening, then it could negatively affect the stock market. But, ayun nga, based on the narratives that we are seeing right now, it seems that the BSP is prepared to shift, or it's about to shift, soon. And given the negative relationship between the two, it could be concluded as well that if interest rates go down, then the stock market tends to rise, diba? Yun nga, from an investor standpoint, from a corporate valuation standpoint, and from a macroeconomic standpoint, all points to the concept that if interest rates go down, so stock market will rise. So what I can really suggest is be prepared for that. Right now we're already seeing a little bit of excitement in the market. Though medyo nahihirapan pa tayong butasin yung 6,700 resistance level. Investors would want to see more catalyst, but I believe right now we can start accumulating slowly, and then as the market continues to advance, so yun, we accumulate and then we accumulate. And once na-deliver na yung rate cuts na yun, then, there's the possibility that the market will be on a bull run again. And once we see that bull run, if ngayon pa lang nakaposition na tayo, then we will benefit greatly from that.
Thank you very much, Japhet, for giving those tips to our investors. Narinig nyo, no? Start accumulate slowly, cautiously, and buy good companies. You can never go wrong because you understand how they're doing their business. At the end of the day, remember that when you're buying stocks, you are becoming an investor of a company, an investor in that business. So you have to believe in that business. For you to really benefit from your investment. And yun na nga, and the best time to buy is when prices are low. So
Yes,
again,
agree.
thank you kay Japet. Let's give him a virtual round of applause, and hopefully next time we get to invite you for another webinar session with the PSE. So salamat po muli sa lahat ng mga nanood ng aming webinar. I hope you had a great time and learned a lot from our speaker, si Japet. Kung nag-enjoy kayo sa webinar na to and want to stay updated with the latest stock market news, pwede nyo i-follow ang Philippine Stock Exchange sa aming social media platforms. We are on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and X. Pwede nyo rin puntahan ang aming PSE Academy website at www.pseacademy.com.ph if you want to gain access to free tools na makakatulong sa inyo sa pag-aaral tungkol sa stock market. So may mga features kami in that platform that we will be launching very, very soon. So very exciting features. So pagpasyal nyo po sa aming PSE Academy, mag-sign up na rin kayo to get exclusive updates sa mga events and activities ng PSE Market Education Team. And if you have other inquiries or you want to reach out to the PSE's Market Education Department, you may email us at academy@pse.com.ph. So marami pong salamat ulit for tuning in. Once again, I'm John Garcia. Have a good day, everyone.
Good trading. Thank you po ulit.